All right, you guys, this is going to be episode 5 of Inner Demons. Before I get into this, I know I sound like a broken record, man, but I want to extend my appreciation to those of you that continue to send in the positive feedback, man. You guys, I appreciate it. Straight up, man. Continue to, those of you that want to continue, telling me about your stories, man. Continue doing it on my IG, man. I'm all for it. Anyway, I'm going to get straight into it. So I believe yesterday I was talking about, I just barely found out that my biological father was killed by the NF. I talked about the situation that I had with Chris Ichabaria, where I basically tried to harpoon his homie and damn near cut off all 8 of his fingers. The loudmouth that came by my pad that night. I talked about how I was emulating some of the homies in my hood and how I was walking, talking, acting like, some of the other homies that I was seeing out there. I was doing all the things that I was seeing, man. I was starting to do those things myself. I did a live last night, and a lot of you had a lot of questions about the situation with my biological father getting killed. And I want to delve off into that for a minute. Some of you asked if I ever had a chance to talk to Pantera face to face. No, I haven't. And some of you asked if I did, would I ever confront him about the circumstances that took place with my father? Absolutely not. Why would I do that? I mean, what could he possibly tell me? What kind of response could he give me? You know what I mean? Hey man, I'm sorry. Dispensa, homie. It wasn't personal. There was nothing that he could really say about it. So I would have left it alone. I never had a chance to run into him. But even if I would have kept it professional. If I would have seen him at the law library and I would have had to pass a kana to him, or I would have had to send a fish line to him, I would have done it. Just like I would have done with anybody else up there. He would have never sensed any type of animosity towards me. I wouldn't have gave him the cold shoulder. I wouldn't have done none of that. I would have just treated him like I treated everybody else. I know it might sound kind of callous, man, but there came a point when I found out about this that I had to come to terms with the fact that my dad fell victim to the game, man. That's basically what it was. It wasn't personal. Unfortunately, this female led Pantera and this other homeboy to believe that my dad was a big-time dope dealer out there in San Jose. Like I said, he wasn't no Blanco, man. She led him to believe that he had a lot of dope at the house and that there was a lot of money. And that just wasn't the case, man. Like I told you guys last night, he was a small-time dealer that sold lanyards, and he just did it just to make a little bit of money on the side. That's all it was. He wasn't no Blanco. He wasn't selling pounds or ounces or even grams of that shit. He was just selling lanyards. But at any rate, these guys were led to believe that he was a major connection, so they went over there to hit him. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, my dad lost his life in the course of what happened, man. For those of you that asked if I would have blasted Pantera, if I would have had a chance, absolutely not. Again, no. That would have definitely sabotaged my career with the NF. At that time, you guys got to understand, I stumbled across this information in, I want to say, 94, about 94 or 95, through Leo Cano. It was just a conversation that we were having with homies that were up in the Bay, and his name came out, and it was like, boom, a light bulb went off as soon as I heard it. Pablo Peña. Who is that, bro? You know what I mean? And that's how it happened. You know, when I came to find out that, you know, the organization that I was aspiring to be a part of, I was aspiring to be a C at that time, was the same organization that killed my father. It was just a crazy twist of fate, man. But I didn't let it shake my resolve, man. If I would have dwelled on that, or if I would have let that continue to eat at me, that would have become a major mental stumbling block. It would have put a damper on my loyalty, on, you know, it would have put me on a different path, man. So I had to come to terms with the fact that, hey, it was something that happened, and it could have happened to anybody, but unfortunately, it happened to me. You know, and that's just the way that I had to deal with it, man. That was the way that I thought, that was the best way that I thought I should deal with it. Anyway, so, you know, the last thing I'll say about it is, would I wanted to do something to Pantera? If I could have, maybe. If it wouldn't have had an adverse effect on me, maybe. Who wouldn't have? You know what I mean? I'm sure you guys can relate to that. Somebody killed your dad. Would you want to do harm to them? Of course you would. But I know that wouldn't have happened. You know, I wouldn't have been given no freebie. Now maybe he's in bad standings, but you know, it was one of the things I had to let it go, you guys. And that's pretty much that's how I dealt with it, man. You know, like I said, I didn't allow it to shake my resolve. I continued to aspire to be a C, and I just didn't let that become a stumbling block, man. I didn't let it affect me like that. So let me get on my mom now. So yesterday I also talked about, you know, how my mom would go out and she would boost, and she was doing other things that I would probably like to have forgotten about. I explained how I suppressed those feelings, as I'm sure a lot of us probably do. A lot of you probably do the same thing. You suppress the painful feelings. You guys, if you're like me, you've tucked them away somewhere, and it's just not something that you think about until you have to think about it, until something shakes those memories loose, like this right here. For me, this is bringing a lot of that stuff back up to the surface. But before this, man, it's been buried somewhere. You know what I mean? Straight up. Anyway, so what I wanted to say about my mom is, you know, during the time that I was out there ripping and running, over the years, as I started to get older and things just progressed, my relationship with my mom transformed into a kind of like a homegirl, homeboy relationship, if that makes sense to you guys. She wasn't, I don't like the word enabler. I've said it before. I don't like the word enabler, man. But, you know, I'll say this. My mom, she let me do my thing. When I was out there ripping and running, robbing people, doing home invasions, doing residential burglaries, burglarizing houses in the neighborhood, my mom, she let me do my thing. Not one time did she ever attempt to stop me. She never said nothing. And it came a point to where I started breaking bread with her. That's why she kind of became like a homegirl. I started breaking bread with her. You know, I would bring the stolen merchandise back to the pad, me and Sleepy would, and she'd go through and she'd be like, hey, let me get that and let me get this. And you know, sometimes I have cash and shit. She like, hey, you know, can you kick down a couple $100 or, you know, it was different, man. It was different from the type of relationship that I had with her when I was going to school, when she'd make me lunch, when she helped me put my books in my duffel bag when I was a little kid and I was just a normal little kid. That's when she was my mom. You know, when she would do the things that a mother does to nourish, you know, her child, man, to that's when I had a son-mother relationship with my mom. But again, it changed as I sunk deeper into the criminal element. and I started doing my thing out in the streets, she became like a homegirl to me, man. And she just allowed me to do my thing. Anyway, yesterday I also talked a little bit about how my stepfather went back to prison. Me and my mom were stuck out there at one time. I was basically taking care of both of us. And she ended up bringing the narc to me. I ended up catching the case. Now, I don't remember if it was that case right there that sent me to the county jail for the first time, or if it was the other case where these cops caught me slipping in the hotel room and they peeled off fucking 2 grams off my back. I don't know what case it was, but one of those 2 cases right there sent me to the county jail for the first time. It's a trip, man. The San Francisco County Jail is different from any other county jail I've been to. But then again, I hadn't been to any other county jails in the 80s except for San Mateo. So I don't know if other jails were similar to Frisco, but let me tell you a little bit about how that county jail was back then. So when I hit the 6th floor, which is basically where everybody goes when you're coming into the jail, you got the 6th floor and the 7th floor. Then you also got San Bruno, which is where they send you when you're going to be there long term. Anyway, so the 6th floor, everybody on the 6th floor is pretty much dressed out in their street clothes. You come into the jail, it's a dirty ass jail. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers are wearing their street clothes for like a week straight. It's dirty, it stinks up there, it's foul, man. But everybody's wearing their street clothes. When you go to court and they bound you over to Superior Court and they basically find out that you're going to be staying there for a while, then they'll dress you out. They'll put you in orange or red, whatever they're going to dress you out in. And then they'll either send you to another part of the jail or they'll shoot you to San Bruno, where basically everybody's at. So the other thing that was crazy about the jail was back in those days in the 80s, you used to be able to keep $30 cash in your pocket, which was that right there, man, turned that county jail into a fucking there was some chaotic I seen some chaotic shit happen up in that jail, man. If you weren't, you either became predator or prey in that motherfucker, man. If you weren't somebody that, you know, if you weren't one of the homies, you weren't from the hood, or if you weren't somebody that everybody knew in that jail, if you were just somebody coming through, just a regular Joe, and you had money in your pocket, you were getting jacked, man. I mean, we used to fight over who was getting the next guy that came through the door that had money in his pocket. You know what I mean? You know, the other thing is the jail is like, man, it's probably like 80% Africanos. You got Hunters Point, Fillmore, Alamany Projects, Lakeview, Sunnydale. There's a lot of Africanos in Frisco, man. So, you know, the jail is pretty much like, they pretty much run the jail, man, the Africanos. But, what was I gonna say? So, you know, having money on your person or in your pocket, man, it just invited like robberies, man. Motherfuckers were getting jacked left and right up in there, man. I can't emphasize that enough. You know, back then too, we used to use the payphone. So you used to either you could cash out your cash to get dimes to use the phone, or you had the cash. So I mean, cats used to get dimes up in there too through the visiting, and I mean they used to get those took too, man. The other thing too, I don't want to get off track, but since I'm talking about dimes and the money to use the phone, the change and shit, is I became like a fucking expert at trying to get dope into the fucking jail. I figured out ways, whether it was through the trustee or whether it was through a CO, getting the CO to bring it in, or through a crack in the visiting room, somehow finding a opening where I could stick a straw in and pull it through a string. I always found ways to get shit in. But the way that I used to get it in through, because they allowed you to keep the change and they allowed you to get change when you were at a visit. So, you know, the other thing about the 6th floor that was different from any other jail that I've been to is they had any and every kind of drug you could think of on the 6th floor. Heroin, cocaine, marijuana, tobacco. It was always up there, man. If you had money, you can get whatever you wanted. The trustees had the run of the hallway, and they would run dope from tank to tank, man. It was a trip. So anyway, I end up going to court, and I get bound over. I get bound over to Superior Court. Of course, they're not going to drop the case. So when that happens, I get dressed out. They put me on a bus. They shoot me to San Bruno. I end up going to Bruno, and they shot me up to 6 North. They call San Bruno Baby Quentin because it looked just like Quentin. There's a weight pile out there. There's gun towers on the yard. There's 5 tiers. There's 5 tiers. Yeah, 5 tiers. 2 North, 3 North, 4 North, 5 North, and 6 North. So that's why they call it Baby Quentin. Anyway, there was like 6 homies over there. 6 good homeboys on 6 North. That's usually where they send the parole violators or guys that have already been to prison. And at least I'm assuming the custody level kind of drops as you go down towards the lower levels. And then you got on the bottom, you got your laundry workers, and then across in 2 South, you had your kitchen workers. So anyway, long story short, man, the first time or the second time I went to yard, I remember a homeboy, Wallace from Hampshire. He was housed in, I think he was housed in 5 South at that time. And we're out there on the yard kicking it, and he's like, "Hey B," he's like, you know, you see that cat over there? He points some cat out, and he goes, "Hey, that cat right there, he's a Southsider, right?" And I'm like, "Nah, bro." And he's like, "Yeah, man, straight up, bro." And hey, man, to all my Southside brothers, man, I mean no disrespect by talking about this shit. You guys are gonna hear a bunch of situations where I was out there doing my thing. This is when I was a young gang member. I'm sure you guys did your thing out there when you were younger. So don't take it personal, man. You know what I mean? I'm not into it anymore. Shout out to all the Southsiders, man. Anyway, so he points this individual out. We walk over there. It was me, Wallace. I believe there was another cat named Richard from Potrero, and Looney Lou from South City. He was my cellie. So we walk over there to this dude, and I jam him up. I'm like, "Hey, homie, where you from, bro?" And he's like, "I'm not from nowhere." And Wallace is like, "Bullshit." He was like, "Hey, motherfucker," he's like, "You got a tattoo." He tells me, he's like, he's got a tattoo on his chest of a 13 or something, right? And I'm like, "Hey, let me see your chest, bro. Pull your shirt up, man. Let me see your tintiazos." And he's like, "I don't got none, man." I was like, "Bro, pull up your shirt." And he wouldn't pull his shirt up. He just kept on saying, "Man, I don't play, I don't fuck around, I don't gangbang, soy paisa." So I see this dude is obviously, he's not gonna cooperate, man. And I fire on him. Bow! I hit him in the mouth. He backs up, and I tell him, "Hey, check it out, man. Don't come back out to this yard. You hear me? You come back out to this yard, you're gonna get stabbed, man. Don't come back out here. I don't want to see you out here no more." And he didn't say nothing. At the time, I thought, you know, the dude probably would have got the message, man. You know what I mean? He's out there by himself. The paisas weren't backing him up, and there was too many of us out there. So anyway, after that incident, we go back into the back inside the jail, and I don't know, they used to run yard every other day or every couple days, whatever. But whatever it was, from that point on, I remember I gotta, and you guys gotta remember this, man. When I first hit the county jail, I had absolutely no concept of any kind of. I didn't have no training at all. I was as green as you could get. Nobody sat me down and taught me how to make a pedazo. Nobody sat me down and educated me about security. I didn't have no idea about none of that. I was a young, uneducated, green motherfucker, man. Straight up, that's what I was. So, but trip out on this though. So, when I'm thinking about this Southsider, I'm thinking, man, if this cat comes back out, I'm gonna stab him. You know what I mean? But now, where do I get a pedazo, right? So, again, nobody taught me how to make any kind of weaponry, man. But what I did is, there was a toilet bowl scrubber. I got that toilet bowl scrubber, and common sense, man, common sense would tell anybody that anything that's indurated enough to break flesh that you put a point on is a stabbing instrument, right? So that's all I need is basically something that I can poke this fool with and make him bleed. So I take this toilet bowl scrubber and I take the tip off, and then I find an area on my cell floor and I start grinding it down, right? I make a nice little point on it, man, and it looked nastier than it was. I mean, it was about this long, and it had a good point on it, and I had a nice little diamond point on it. It was nice, man, for a plastic piece. But again, I even trip out on it myself when I think back. Nobody taught me how to make a piece back then. It was just common sense. And I took something that was hard. Like I said, it was indurated. It was something that could be turned into a stabbing instrument. So that's what I did, man. And the reason why I'm emphasizing this is because some of the older homies would trip on this later. Like, check this little young motherfucker out, man. You know what I mean? I was making pedazos and stashing them all over the jail. I don't know why I was doing it. I don't even know where I got this from. Where, I got this mentality from. I don't know if it was from watching shit on TV, if it was, I don't know where it came from. But for whatever reason, I was making pieces in the jail and I was hiding them everywhere. And that would become an issue later. I'm going to get into it with you guys. It actually become an issue with the Africanos, and it's fucked up because it shouldn't have escalated the way it did, but it did. So I make this pedazo, right? And I sit my celly down, Looney Lou, and I tell him, look, if old boy comes back out, I'm going to blast him, bro. I'm going to get him. And the way I'm going to get him is I'm going to get him on the stairway. The best way to get him is probably like for us to creep over to fucking 5 South and get him in that Sally Port when he's coming up the stairs. I didn't think he was gonna come back out though. I was like, I'll bring the pedazo out. You hold the pedazo, and when I tell you to give it to me, then give it to me. So anyway, the day they call yard, we go out, right? So we hit the yard. Bam, we're out there. All the homies are out there. We hit the waypal. We do our thing. And then we stroll the yard, and sure fucking enough, this motherfucker came back out. And I walked by him and I told him, I said, hey bro, I told you not to come back out. Didn't I tell you not to come out? And he was like, hey man, I don't want no problems, man. Soy paisa, you know what I mean? I was like, man, I ain't trying to hear all that. Like I told you you're gonna have issues. Now you're gonna have issues. So I get with Looney Lou, my celly, and I get with Richard from Presida Park, and I tell him, I said, look bro, when they call yard recall, Richard, you go in first and make your way up to 5 South, his dorm. And when you get up there, just post up by the door. And when he starts coming up, if you see him, don't let him in. Keep him right there in the Sally Port. And I should be like right behind him somewhere. So, all right, everybody knew their role, man. Everybody fucking knew their role. And I told Looney Lou, when we get up there, you're going to be right behind me. And when I tell you to give me the piece, give it to me. So anyway, everything pretty much goes as planned, except fucking Richard doesn't go up the stairs. He gets scared, man. He gets scared, and instead of going up the south stairwell, he went up the north, back up to our tier. So he goes up there. Later on, I deal with him, but it's a good thing Wallace was on that tier. Wallace knew what was up too, man. So we go up. They call yard recall. I get a visual on this dude, and I kind of fall back, and Looney Lou's with me, and I let him go in, and like I'm like 10 feet behind him where he can't see me. I don't want him to see me. I'm like in the crowd, but he's going up the stairs, right? So we climb up like 5 flights of stairs until we get to 5 South. When we get to 5 South, he tries to walk in, and Wallace was standing in the doorway, and he's like, nah, hey, you ain't coming in here, man. And the dude just kind of backs up. Wallace was a pretty big dude. He's Africano in raza, but he was a pretty big dude, even as a kid, man. When we were juvenile, that motherfucker was big. But anyway, so he doesn't let him in. So this dude's just standing there. When I come to the top of the stairs, I see him. He's got his back to me. I just rush him. I barrel into him. Boom. I hit him. I start socking him up. Bam, bam, bam. I got him in the fucking, right there in the sally port. Other dudes that are trying to get into the fucking 5 South, they're all standing outside the gate trying to get in, but we're in the fucking sally port getting them up. There came a point where I'm drilling on this dude where he was bent over, but what he did was there's bars right there all around the whole front of the perimeter right there. He bent down and he grabbed the bars, and now he's like bear hugging me. Like I'm up against the bars and he's bent over right here, and he's just holding on to the bars, and I'm trying to fucking get him loose, but I can't get him loose. So I look at Looney Lou and give me the piece, bro. So he reaches down, he gives me the piece, and there's all kind of motherfuckers standing around looking. The whole 5 South is standing outside the sally port watching this shit. I mean, motherfuckers are a big ass crowd is accumulating, man. And so anyway, I get the pedazo and I start hitting him. I start hitting him in the back of the head. I just keep hitting him in the back of the head until he lets go. This dude had kind of like he didn't have long hair, but he had hair. His hair went back, and in the back he had like kind of long hair where he could fucking braid it or do whatever the fuck he did with this shit. Anyway, when he let go, I grabbed him by the hair, the little bit of hair that he had, and I took the pedazo and I'm uppercutting him in the face with it. I'm just hitting him wherever I can hit him, man. In the side, in the back, in the arms, in the head. And you know, it was a plastic pedazo, so you know it's not gonna kill him. It's putting some nice little puncture holes in him, but it's nothing that's gonna they're not life-threatening wounds, man. You know, all I'm doing is putting some big chunky holes in this dude, man, and he's bleeding, leaking everywhere. So anyway, after I hit him about like 20 times, man, most of them were in the head and in the face. We cut, man. I'm like, I look at Looney Lou, let's go, bro, because they're starting to lock down all the other tiers now. They're already fucking locking down 5 North. We're gonna get locked out, bro. And I got the piece on me still. So we run all the way down the stairs, and then we go across, and then we run up the north side, and we're going up the stairs. Trip out. So when I get Looney Lou is behind me, but when I get to 5 North, there's like 4 paisas, the same paisas that were kicking it with this dude on the yard. They're all posted up at the top of the stairs, like they're waiting for me. Now, where they were from their vantage point, if they were to look straight across to 5 South, they could see directly across. So if they were standing there, they could see me just stab that dude. They would have been able to see me stabbing him. And I believe that's what happened, because they were posted up right there at the stairs. And when I came up, one of them had a broomstick. One of them had they all had something, man. But when I went to go up the stairs, because I had to lock it up before that I got locked out, I pulled the pedazo out and I rushed him. I ran up to the top of the stairs. they ran back into their unit, man, and I just ran back out, ran up to 6 North, and I passed the pedazo to Looney Lou. I said, hey, get rid of it, bro, because I knew they were gonna lock the jail down. I knew this dude was gonna need medical attention, and I knew that I had blood all over me, all over my pants, on my top, from where his fucking head was against my shirt. So, and I didn't have an extra pair of fucking clothes either, man. So what I had to do is I went in my cell real quick. I took my top off, put it in the sink, put some shampoo on it, and just started cleaning it, man. I cleaned it, wrung it out as good as I could, and hung that motherfucker up. I did the same thing with my pants, man. And anyway, sure enough, they locked the jail down. They fucking locked the jail down. And then they started doing full unclothed body searches, where basically they're pulling us all out one by one, going through our looking at our hands, looking at our bodies to make sure we didn't have any scratches or anybody else have any kind of injuries. I didn't have no cuts on me. My knuckles weren't busted up, nothing. So unbelievably, man, as many people that see me, I couldn't believe it, but as many people that see me, because I thought I was going to get told on. Nobody said nothing. They came up to 6 North when it was our turn. They did they stripped us all out, did an unclothed search of us, checked our hands and shit. Nothing happened. I was even, for the next 2 weeks, I was like tripping, like, fuck, are they going to come? And I had found out later on through Wallace, he shot a kite, that they took that cat out that night. They took him to the hospital. He never came back. I don't know where he went, where they housed him. They probably took him back to the 6th floor. Anyway, that was one stabbing that I got into. I'm going to tell you guys about the second one real quick before I close this up, because I don't want to make this too long. But anyway, this other stabbing right here almost got me in trouble with the homies, because I was being a bully, man, and I don't even like bullies. I like to bully bullies now, but back then I was young. I was a little knucklehead, man. So what happened is eventually I put in to be a kitchen worker. So a lot of the homies were down in two South. That was the kitchen dorm. So I wanted to go down there. Down the kitchen dorm, man. Everybody that works down there, they're bringing food back. They're drinking down there. They're having it their way. They got a weight pile down there, a ping pong table. It's cool, right? So I put in for the kitchen. Eventually, I get called down. So they moved me down there. So I'm in the kitchen now. I'm down there for a couple weeks. Now, the first 5, there's like 50 beds in the dorm. They got two rows, both sides, right? But the first 5 beds are trustee beds, and there's springs on them. So again, man, I trip on it when I think back on it myself, because nobody taught me how to do this. It was just something I started doing, but nobody taught me any kind of weaponry. But I seen those beds being springs, and the first thing I thought of is fucking ice picks. You know what I mean? So I get down there and I start breaking off pieces of the springs, and I start making. I made a couple nice ice picks. Put a handle on them, and I put them up in the heater, up in the vent. And later on, that would cause tension with the blacks. So I'll get into that on the next one. But so what happened with this situation was, there was a white dude that used to play pinochle with the homies. He was a cool dude, man. You know what I mean? Didn't fuck with nobody. Just did his thing. Just sat there, drunk coffee, and played pinochle. One night, I was down there in the dorm, and I used to play pinochle too, man. So I walked up on their game, and I'm watching them, and one of the homies got up to go. Oh, he got up. The white guy got up to go use the bathroom or do something. And when he did, I picked his hand up, and I started rearranging his hand and shit, right? Just to see what kind of hand the dude got, man. He came back, and he sat down, and he could tell he kind of got frustrated because I had his cards, and he looked over at me and he was like, hey man, can I get my cards back? And I'm like, hold up, man, hold on. I think I was drunk too, man. I want to say I was drinking that day. So anyway, I'm still fucking looking at setting his cards up and shit. And he's like, man, come on, man. Can I have my hand back, bro? With all due respect, man. I mean, shut the fuck up, man. Shut your bitch ass up, man. I give you motherfucking cards when I'm ready to give them to you, man. You know what I'm saying? And he don't say nothing. He's like, whatever, man. So one of the other homies is like, come on, B. You know what I mean? Kick back, bro. We're trying to play a game here, homie. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, here, man. I throw the cards back at the white dude. And he's like, come on, man. He said something like, that necessary or something. I'm like, what'd you say? And when he said that, I went and I took off, went and got the pedazo. I went and got it. It was that one was a ladle, a ladle, like a ladle from Stern. You know what I mean? I just had the handle. The cut part was broken off. It was a nice one. It was a fucking straight piece of steel, man. So I got that and I stuck it in my sock and I went back over there, man. I put my shoes on and I walked back over there to the table and I'm like, hey, motherfucker, what'd you say? And he's like, hey, man, I don't want no problems with you, boxer. And I'm like, hey, man, come here, man. Come here. Get your motherfucking ass up and come here, bro. And he was like, what, man? I'm like basically calling him out, telling him I want him to come in the bathroom with me. So he gets up, like, he don't get up to fight. He just got up to come talk to me because I wasn't giving him a choice. I told him, get your motherfucking ass over here. Come here. I want to talk to you, man. So anyway, I let him come by the bathroom where the bathrooms are, and he walks in. And as soon as he walks in, I spin around to where now I got him boxed in. And then when I got him boxed in, I bent down to reach for the pedazo. And before I could even do anything, he was like, I already know, man. I already know. He's like, hey, I don't want no problems with you, boxer. I don't want no problems, man. You know what I mean? I seen you get your shit, man. You know what I mean? So now I got it in my hand. I'm like, motherfucker, man, what'd you say to me a minute ago? Huh? You got a problem with me fucking touching your cards? And he's like, no, man. He was like, hey, bro, I don't want no problem. And I had the piece in my hand. And when he's talking, I just hit him in the mouth with it. Bam! I hit him. I end up knocking one of his teeth out, man. I hit him one time. And I hurt the dude, man, because when I hit him, he kind of bent over and he fucking was just bent over. Blood was coming out of his mouth and he was just like, man, he was like, I don't want no problems, man. I don't want no problem. He wasn't saying nothing. Now I felt like shit. He ended up washing up. He fucking said, fuck that pinochle game, and he went and laid down. Now, I go and put the pedazo away, right? I find out this dude, I knock one of his back teeth out. I hit him in the fucking in the cheek, and it fucking straight took his tooth out, man. But now I'm worried about the dude telling on me. I'm starting to trip on it, man. One of the homies is like, homeboy from Excelsior, matter of fact, Shady. He's like, hey, man, you better go talk to that dude, bro. That motherfucker's gonna tell on you, homie. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, you think so? And he's like, fuck yeah, bro. You know what I mean? I'd be worried about it if I was you. So I was like, man, I'm gonna go hit him up. So I go over there, man. Straight up, man, I felt bad for the dude. Because, you know, I go over there and I talk to him. And I'm like, hey, man, you know what, man? I apologize, man. I was wrong. And he was like, yeah, man. Dude looked like he almost wanted to cry. He was like, I don't fuck with nobody, man. You know, I don't want no problems. You know, I'm just trying to do my time, man. I'm looking at him. This dude's got like dry blood in his mouth and he's fucking, you can tell he's in pain. I fucked him up. He never told on me, though. He never told, but the homies got pissed off about that because, you know, they were saying I was being a bully. And I know there was 2 cats in there that were hermanos, but they didn't say nothing to me, which is kind of weird, man, because me having pedazos, playing with knives like that, you know what I mean? And these guys are hermanos, and they should have been controlling the situation, but they didn't. They one of the older homies just got at me and told me to kick back. He was like, hey, man, that shit you're doing is gonna get you caught up, homie. You know what I mean? You can't just be running around here stabbing people and bullying people like that, bro. People don't like bullies, man. You know what I mean? It's gonna end up catching up with you, box. So I slowed my roll, man. You know what I mean? I ended up slowing my roll. Um, no, you know what? The motherfucker did tell on me. He sure fucking did. Either he told on me or they seen, because yeah, that's right. That's right. Because look, when I knocked his tooth out, his fucking tooth kept on bleeding. He kept on bleeding. He kept on spitting blood up. That's right. He kept spitting up blood, man, and he ended up having to go to the infirmary. I remember him. I remember it now too. He had got at the homie and was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go to the infirmary. I'm not gonna say nothing, man, but you know, my shit. I think I need a stitch or something because my shit won't stop bleeding, right?" So, anyway, he leaves and he goes to the infirmary, and he don't come back that night. I remember he didn't come back that night. I crash out. We all crash out that night. Go to bed. I wake up in the morning, and it's not even fucking. Uh, it's not even like 5 o'clock yet, man. I wake up in my bunk, because we have bunk beds down there. My bunk is literally surrounded by COs. There's like 5 of them. They're like, "Get up." I'm like, "What's up, man?" They're like, "Get up and get dressed. Grab your pants and your top." So I grab my pants and my top and I put them on. And by now, some of the other homies are waking up, and I look over at Shady from Excelsior, and I'm telling them, like, kind of motioning to them to get the pedazos and get rid of them, because I already know, man. So they pull me out, and they pull me into a sergeant's office, and the sergeant's like, "Hey, man, uh, we're gonna do this 2 ways. You can either play hardball, and we'll go in and we'll tear that fucking dorm up, and we'll tear up all your homeboy shit, and we'll tear up everybody's shit to the point where they're gonna be mad at you. Or you can just tell us where it's at, and nothing's gonna happen. You're not gonna get a case. We're just gonna rehouse you in 6 North." And I'm like, "Tell you where what's at?" And they're like, "The weapon that you used to stab, what's his name?" Said his name or whatever his name was. And I'm like, "I don't got no weapon, man. And there's a weapon in there somewhere, and we're gonna find it. And if you don't tell us now where it's at, you're gonna catch a case. We're gonna press charges on you. If you tell us, it'll go away. I'm giving you my word." Man, I'm kind of tripping out now, because I got a little lightweight punk ass case, and I think at that time they were getting ready to send me to a drug program, but it's nothing serious. But now I'm thinking, like, fuck, man, if hopefully homeboy remembers where I put that pedazo at, because if he doesn't get to it and they find it, I'm in trouble, man. Or if they find another one, um, that's not even mine, it's gonna cause problems for me. Anyway, homeboy ended up finding it, because where they had me sitting at cuffed to a bench, I could see the front of 2 South, and the homies, they were still coming up to the Sally Port, like, "What's up, Box? What they gonna do with you?" "I don't know, man. I think I'm going back up to 6 North." But that's when Shady came out, and he's like, "Hey, I got that, bro. It's gone. They're all gone. Don't trip." And I'm like, "Cool. Hell yeah." So, the sergeant and the other officer that were trying to get me to tell them where it was at, they're like, "Okay, so what's it gonna be, man? You gonna tell us where it's at, or we're gonna go tear that dorm up?" I said, there ain't nothing in there. You guys want to waste your time tearing that dorm up, go right ahead, but there's no weapon in there. They're like, "Okay, have it your way." So they had everybody come out. They took them all down to the kitchen, and they went in there and they tore that motherfucker up. Anyway, they shot me up to 6 North. They shot me back up to 6 North. And even though I wasn't going to really get into this right now, that situation caused a lot of animosity between the Northerners and the blacks. And it's crazy, man, because me having knives down there in the kitchen, and me stabbing this white dude, and me stabbing the sureño on the yard, people were hearing about it in the jail, including some of the Africanos. But it was making them uncomfortable, and I couldn't understand why, because although, again, I wasn't really educated, they knew that we were considered allies in prison, and I knew that much. I had been told, like, the Africanos, they are allies in prison. I couldn't understand why they were taking that position. Like, so what if I'm running around with knives? So what if I'm stashing knives in the heaters and in the vents? So what, man? It's got nothing to do with you guys. If anything, I mean, we're gonna back you guys up and use those against whatever ops you guys got. You know what I mean? But for whatever reason, they took it as if, I was down there causing a lot of animosity, making shanks and passing them and being a bully, hitting other people with them and shit. And they weren't feeling it, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it off right there. When I come back, it's basically I'm gonna talk about the animosity between us and Africanos and what that entailed, because it led to some shit that would lead to some other shit that would lead to some other shit. But those were two stabbings that I had did in the county jail. They weren't sanctioned. Nobody told me to do them. These were two stabbings that I done completely on my own and for my own reasons. I didn't gain any stripes from them. Didn't get any kind of credibility for it. If anything, I was being looked at in a negative way as being a bully because of the circumstances behind both of them. But anyway, I'm gonna cut it with that. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode of Inner Demons, episode 5. Tomorrow, I'm gonna get into episode 6.